As we are ready to begin our Erev Yom Kippur Kol Nidre service, I'm going to invite Jody Shapiro up for an introduction for our beloved Torahs.
I have my Kleenex, okay? After 2 years of pandemic, of weathering isolation, illness, and no hugs of friendship or consolation, our coming together this Kol Nidre evening is sweeter still. It speaks of the resilience of our people. We've all been through so much. But tonight, we are here. We return to tradition, to sanctify, to repentance, to Torah. These are the guiding principles of our Jewish people. This night we gather together. Wrapped in our talitot, we weave a talit of love around each other and this community that means so much to us. Standing as one, our eyes now turn to our Torahs as we proudly carry them to the Ark. Kol Nidre Eve is about their impact in our lives. First, we welcome our Torah scroll inscribed in Israel in the 1950s, just years after the creation of the state. Theodore Herzl said, "If you will it, it is no dream." We learn from this scroll to value the hopes and dreams of our community. Our Torah scroll from Poland, written in the 1930s, is worn and wobbly on its rollers, but it is a magnificent scroll, heavy and aged, like our people. It bears the broken heart of communities plundered and decimated. Each letter, we can imagine, was written with the tears of Jews experiencing the unimaginable. From this scroll, we learn perseverance. We are a people whose 5,000-year history reflects our ability to survive in an inhospitable world. As we tenderly embrace our scroll written for a German community in the 1930s, it is the scroll from which we read weekly, whose letters gleam with a black ink which looks as if it is still wet from the scribe's quill. From this scroll, we learn resilience. In the face of anti-Semitism in any generation, we respond by making Torah and Jewish teaching the cornerstone of our life. The Jewish people does not exist without its Torah. It is as vital to our existence as if the words were written for us at this very moment. God's love letter during a trying and terrible time. And lastly, under the shimmering silver crown is our crown jewel, our scroll penned by Kabbalist's hands in Italy more than 250 years ago. From this scroll, we learn the exquisite beauty of our faith. We are blessed to be part of this people whose Torah implores us on this holy day, choose life, that you and your children shall live, and care for the stranger in your midst, and live with holiness, for I, the eternal, am holy. Our Torahs remind us that to live as a Jew is to be connected to a proud heritage, to fight for a vibrant tomorrow, to be enriched by a doctrine that elevates our soul and ennobles our human spirit. And tonight, for the first time in decades, our Torahs were brand new, hand-sewn, exquisite new mantles made by local artisans. It is our hope to continue to embellish them in the year to come. As we have honored our Torahs with fresh mantles, may the teachings and wisdom within our precious scrolls remain fresh in our lives. Good Yontif.
Please rise.
Good Yontif. We welcome this eve of Kol Nidre 5783, and I invite you to turn to page 9 in our Mishkan Tefillah, the silver book I hope you brought this evening for Yom Kippur, and we're delighted to ask the president of our congregation, Nancy Marcus, if she will come forward and begin our evening by kindling our lights.
The human spirit is the lamp of God, searching out what lies within us. Guided by the flames of conscience on this sacred night, we search for truth. Shine your light upon us as we strive to serve you. May we find safety in your faithful love. We light the flame of healing and forgiveness on this atonement night, and we give thanks for love.
As Nancy kindles these candles, I'll invite you to rise as you're able for the blessing.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kishanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel yom
seated. We move into Kol Nidre, and I invite you to page 15 and ask you if you will pray with me in the middle of the page. Kol Nidre, a chant that begins in a whisper and rises to a cry. On this night of promises remembered, each soul in solitude communes with the soul of the universe. God, from this day of atonement to the next, may we reach it in peace. All Israel makes these vows to turn from wrong, dishonesty, and greed, to walk in the path of justice and right. Yet we know our weakness, how prone we are to fail. Help us to keep our word. Help us to act with humility and integrity. We seek pardon and forgiveness. We seek your radiance and light. In the middle of page 16, will you read with me? With one voice, assembled sages past and present declare, all may pray as one on this night of repentance. Let none be excluded from our community of prayer. With one voice, God and congregation proclaim, all may pray as one on this day of return. Let all find a place in this sacred assembly. The entire Kol Nidre experience that is about to unfold is really an amazing moment of pretend, as it were, that we are imagining in this moment that this sanctuary, that sanctuaries all over the world, every sanctuary in any land at this moment is transformed into a court of law, where we, as witnesses, come forward and we confess our transgressions of the year behind and our fervent prayer that in the year ahead we will not make the kind of human mistakes that have kept us tethered in this year that has passed. And so in this imaginary court, we hear the words of Kol Nidre 3 times before judges, the heavenly judges, the leaders of our community, each other, asking to be absolved of our shortcomings. That is the power of Kol Nidre. This moment culminating the month of Elul, the 10 days since Rosh Hashanah into this moment that we have spent in introspection, thinking about our lives, thinking about the deeds we've done, thinking about the words we've spoken that haven't hit their mark, culminating in this moment where we simply stand and say, please, let the words and the deeds I've done not be held against me. Let me ask forgiveness. My heart is open in this moment. And I pray that in the year ahead, I will do better. And so we enact this court. And I say imaginary, we hold it deep in our spiritual lives, but the truth is, hundreds of years ago, people would come to synagogue before Kol Nidre would start in the afternoon leading up to this evening to stand before a Beit Din and ask forgiveness. We do it now from this place of great spirit. And so our 3 ways of moving into Kol Nidre begin first with an incredible instrumental cellist performance that allow us to open our hearts, to let music do what sometimes words cannot, to let it crack open that place within us. And then for our second and third offerings of Kol Nidre, we will ask you to rise as you're able, as we take our Torahs from the ark and we pray these words fervently. Forgive us for our transgressions. And as we have just read together, this incredible acceptance that everyone may come into synagogue this night, no matter how far they've strayed, no matter how much they've missed the mark. This is a night of tshuva. This is where we return. Virginia. I ask you to rise as we open our arks.
Please be seated.
In the middle of page 18, will you read these words with me? All vows, resolves, and commitments, vows of abstinence and terms of obligation, sworn promises and oaths of dedication, that we promise and swear to God and take upon ourselves from this day of atonement until next day of atonement, may it find us well. We regret them, and for all of them we repent. Let all of them be discarded and forgiven, abolished and undone. They are not valid, and they are not binding. Our vows shall not be vows, our resolves shall not be resolves, and our oaths, they shall not be oaths. Page 20, we continue. All shall be forgiven, the entire community of Israel, and the stranger who lives in their midst, for all have gone astray in error. Slach la, Moses prayed to God, as you have been faithful to this people ever since Egypt. Please forgive their failings now, in keeping with your boundless love. V'sham ne'emar, v'yomer Adonai, salachti kidvarecha. And God responded, I forgive as you have asked. We rise again as we are called into prayer on page 22 for the Baruch Hu. On page 24, will you read with me our Ma'ariv Aravim prayer? Blessed are you, Adonai. Your great name fills the universe with majestic might. Your word creates twilight and dusk, as your wisdom opens the gates of night. Your discernment separates the changing seasons and causes the passage of time. The stars arrayed across the sky reveal your design. You roll out the cycle of darkness and light, shaping day and night. You sweep away day and carry the world into nightfall, setting day apart from nighttime. You are a God of all we can perceive and all that is beyond our perception, living eternal God, Be our sovereign to the end of time. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. On page 26. Love beyond all space and time. Your love enfolds your people Israel. You receive it in your Torah, teaching your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. Let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael, for you are blessed, the one who loves your people, Yisrael. Please be seated. Join with us as we chant our Ve'ahavta. We're on page 30.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בהם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם אלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
We continue on page 38.
Truth and faith, these are fundamental to our existence. God alone is their source, and we are Israel, a people of God. Our sovereign saves us from tyranny, redeems us from its violence through countless wonders, from its brutality through great feats beyond measure. We are Israel, a people of God, a giver of life, who would not let our feet give way, the maker of miracles for us against Pharaoh, of signs importance in the land of Egypt, the one who brought our people Israel from its midst to enduring freedom.
Of all that is worshipped, is there another like you? Maker of wonders, who is like you in holiness sublime, evoking awe and praise? When your children saw your sovereign might, the splitting of the sea before Moses and Miriam, they responded, "This is my God." And they said, "The Eternal will reign till the end of time." As it is written, Adonai will save Jacob and redeem him from one stronger than himself. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Blessed are you in our lives, Eternal One, who redeemed Israel.
We continue with the Micha Mocha. Thank you. Continue on page 45 with our Chatzi Kaddish. Amidah prayers begin on page 46. As you're able, we invite you please to rise for these standing prayers.
Baruch atah Adonai el melech hakadosh.
Let me invite you to continue. You may remain standing or be seated as we take time to go through our Amidah prayers, and we will join together when we hit our prayer for peace. We'll continue on page 79 with our prayer for peace. Hi, good Yantif.
Eternal source and soul of peace, send your peace into the midst of Am Yisrael, your people. Let it heal our rifts and soothe the bitterness of intolerance. Let it overcome distrust, isolation, and rivalry. May your peace flow in every stream of Judaism, and may inspire solidarity, uniting us as one people. Let peace grow and increase, and let it shape the lives of all human beings. Let there be nothing but peace, no hatred or jealousy, no victories that bring suffering, and no loss to people and nations. Only love and peace, strong, profound, and true. We yearn for love that knits us together. We yearn for the wisdom of community, shared knowledge, empathy, and trust. May the words that we speak and the meditations of our hearts open pathways of truth and understanding.
Shalom Rav HaYisrael Lamecha Tasim Be'olam acceptable to you, O God. My rock, and my Redeemer. Le razon Adonai suri vego Adonai suri vego ali.
What a love song to God. It was beautiful. Oh, could you just do that with me? Doesn't that feel good? Let's do it again. Should a sanctuary have chairs or pews? Chairs are comfortable and movable. But where else but a sanctuary do you get to sit in a pew? I like sitting in a pew because I can put my arm around my wife. My kids, when they were younger, they would just spread out on the pew, drifting off to sleep to the melody of Vishamru. But chairs have arms, and that helps seniors stand up more easily. With pews, you need a sturdy pew in front of you to lift yourself up. Pews mean nothing separates us, one person from the next. We're all one community. This was the conversation recently of a few members of TBT as we sat in this room by ourselves, contemplating this sanctuary's future. Well worth considering these glorious pews. From these pews, we have risen for 40 years to welcome our Torahs on the night of Kol Nidre, just as we did tonight. These pews have held our bodies, our prayers, our tears, our joys, our wordless achings of the heart. They have held our children and our grandchildren. Heavy, sturdy, Lador Vidor, they have connected one generation to the next. 40 years. That is how long these pews have been in this sanctuary. For it was in 1982 that this sanctuary was dedicated, the crown jewel, as it were, to our building, which was built in 1963. Our beloved cantor emeritus, Ralph Moses of blessed memory, wrote in his 50-year history of this congregation about the debates, can you imagine that, debates among members, whether to build a sanctuary first or classrooms and an all-purpose social hall first. Which did a congregation need more? Many feared that if we did not build this sanctuary first, it would never be built. But they knew that it was practical to build a social hall. And so they built the Torah school and the social hall first. Being a congregation of modest means, after a 5-year building campaign in the early 1960s, it would be almost 20 more years before this long dreamed of sanctuary would come to be. 40 years in this sanctuary. In Jewish life, 40 carries great significance. The Israelites spent 40 years in the wilderness in their journey from servitude in Mitzrayim until entering the Promised Land. Moses ascends Mount Sinai for 40 days to receive Torah. At age 40, a poor man named Akiba in the 1st century begins to learn his Aleph Bet and becomes one of the most famous sages of Jewish history. At age 40, one can begin to delve into Judaism's mystical traditions. Clearly, 40 is a number associated with great transitions, momentous spiritual growth, and new beginnings. And let's be honest, after 40 years, things wear and need renewal. Such is the case with this beloved sanctuary. So much of this room is in amazing condition. The beautiful wood of wall and pew holds its luster. The architecture, still timeless. One of my joys as your rabbi is to welcome people into this sanctuary every week, it seems, who look and admire the flow of light emanating from our stained glass windows, the high arch that frames this bima, the sturdiness of these sentinel pews. Many years ago, when I was new to Temple, I walked into the sanctuary one day and I found an electrician who was sitting atop a very high ladder and he was fixing this light fixture. He introduced himself to me from all the way up there, and then he said to me this. He said, "I'm not Jewish, but I love getting to come in here and work. I always feel close to God here." And I may have remarked that at the top of that ladder, he may very well have been a little closer to God. So, what is it that makes this sanctuary sacred? Any sanctuary sacred? This is not an easy question. And what makes this sanctuary work? The huge sanctuary of my youth, with a monstrously large floor-to-ceiling bronze sculpture for its arc and back wall, was cold and foreboding. But the conservative synagogue with teal carpeting and stained glass windows up and down the sides felt like a warm embrace to enter. Is it simply the architecture? Is it the interior design? Is it the memories that we bring into a place? Consider for a moment other sanctuaries that you have been in. Perhaps you've been to ancient synagogues in Israel. And if you've traveled to Europe, you may have been in historic 18th or 19th century synagogues. While every sanctuary will have an Aron HaKodesh to hold the Torah, a reader's table from where the service is led, and a Ner Tamid, an eternal light hanging in front of the ark, the truth is that there are not a lot of other required elements to a sanctuary. What is often the most striking is the architecture, and that style is often borrowed from what is popular in that time and place. European synagogues often replicated basilicas with a center aisle and featured Renaissance and Baroque, Romanesque, or Greek Revival architectural styles. If you've toured the medieval Altneu Shul in the Jewish quarter of Prague, then you have seen a Gothic-style synagogue. Moroccan synagogues feature colored tile work. After their expulsion from Spain, Sephardic Jews mimicked the Moorish architecture of their homeland. And if you've been inside the 3,000-seat Doheny Street Synagogue in Budapest, you have seen that very Moorish influence, but here in a 19th century Ashkenazi synagogue. Clearly, while our worship separated us from surrounding religions, our architecture did not. Perhaps the only Jewishly original synagogue architecture was the wooden synagogues of Poland and Lithuania in the 18th and 19th century. We have to look at old photographs to see the wooden synagogues of the many shtetls, because none exist to this day. Forbidden from the masonry or carpentry guilds, Jews constructed simple rectangular big halls to serve as their sanctuaries, often with ornate wooden carvings inside. It's not surprising that for 2,000 years, synagogue buildings tell a story about the political, social, and economic well-being of the Jews who have congregated there. Well, if the outside of a synagogue reflected a fashion, the inside space was all about function. And what is it that you do in synagogue? You pray and you read Torah. So remarkably, throughout the world, Sephardic and Ashkenazic alike, most synagogues will be roughly configured this way: an ark or a niche for the Torah on the eastern wall, a reader's desk in the center of the room, on some sort of raised bima, and benches or pews facing the center bima. That meant that the seats were not facing the ark, but they were at a right angle to the ark, so that worshipers could face the reader's desk, which was at the center bima. Okay, now you're thinking, but wait, that's not what Temple Beth Torah looks like. Why do we face the ark? In the 19th century, male choruses popularly replaced individual chanting, and the bima and the reader's desk were shifted to the front and placed by the ark. Rows of fixed seats directed congregants to that focal point rather than to the bima that was in the center of the room. And this was the style adopted by many synagogues, including most Reform synagogues, which were beginning to appear in Europe in the early 1800s. And this became the convention through the 19th and 20th century in America, reflecting the desire by early generations of American Jews to look as similar to our Christian neighbors as possible. Looking like our neighbors, parenthetically, is why the custom of rabbis wearing robes began, a custom that Cantor Robin and I have chosen to lay to rest for ourselves, starting these high holidays. So this is the history of our sanctuary and of synagogues in general. Sanctuaries reflect current fashion and timeless function. But my question for you tonight is this: what should the synagogue of the 21st century look like? I happened, quite coincidentally, to get magnificent insight to that question just a few weeks ago when TBT hosted a professor of architecture from the University of Toronto, Dr. Robert Jan van Pelt, for a superb Brotherhood-sponsored lecture. An expert in sacred space and architecture, after the lecture, I asked Dr. Van Pelt if he would like to see our sanctuary. And as only an expert in sacred space and architecture could, he succinctly summed it up like this. In churches, he said, the congregation faces the altar because that is where the magic happens, that the priest enacts rituals that transfigure, that create a spiritual kind of change. The Christian congregation inhabits the church, the priest inhabits the sacred realm of the altar. But the synagogue experience is different. It is about what happens in community. The focus in a synagogue is not the altar, he explained. It is the reading of Torah in the midst of the people. And that is the core understanding of the sanctuary. Simple or ornate, what makes a sanctuary is not the decor, but the people. By tradition, the divine presence, what we call the Shekhinah, can be found wherever there is a minyan, a quorum of 10 people. The transfiguration isn't something that only a priest can do. It is what happens person to person when we hear and study and celebrate Torah together. We are transformed. This is why synagogues have had the bima in the middle, so that Torah would be read and heard in the midst of community. So what should the 21st century sanctuary look like? Well, what is the focus of the Jewish community of the 21st century? The challenges to American Judaism are real. We are a people who have distanced ourselves from God, whose knowledge of Torah and tradition are waning, and who often feel greater relationship with neighbors and teammates than with others in the Jewish community. Our survival depends on our feeling a sense of sacredness between us. And how much in the world today we need this. We are a people craving community and connection. We can best be community when we see each other, recognize each other, come face to face in moments of joy, celebration, and yes, and sadness. Too often we are looking at the back of someone's head, never to know them as a person. How often I find that I speak to one of you about another congregant and I realize that you don't know who I'm talking about, even though you've been in this same room dozens of times together. And then I realize that from this bima, I can see every one of you, but you cannot see each other. Couldn't this experience be much richer for you if we were to change the placement of these pews so you could see each other? For our Judaism to feel deeply fulfilling, to elicit our commitment to an authentic Jewish life, means that our actions just can't go on being pro forma. They have to be real, they have to be intentional, they have to be meaningful. And that only happens when we are real with each other, present with each other. That is what our forefathers knew when they placed their pews around a center bima. It is community that makes a sanctuary sacred. Torah and prayer is the function, but community is the focus. As we prepare to update this sanctuary, we are holding a vision of these pews arranged in a way in which Torah is read from the center, prayers are sung from the center, and we sit surrounding the center, seeing each other, able to pray in a way that lets us feel a part of a greater whole. Imagine using our sanctuary to connect us. Imagine not just looking upon a bat mitzvah, but surrounding a bat mitzvah as she steps into adulthood. To not just hear Torah from 2 steps up, but to see its letters 2 feet in front of us. This is an ambitious but real challenge for each of us to give up our current comfortable place and orientation to be face to face with each other. We get a taste of this, by the way, every summer when we celebrate Erev Shabbat outside in the round, and we are able to hear each other's voices, lifting our own music higher. For isn't connection to community what we are here for? Almost every one of us, I know, comes into this space with a warm and deep emotional connection, nurtured and nourished Shabbat after Shabbat, bar mitzvah after bat mitzvah, holiday after holiday, life cycle after life cycle. Some of us have been here for as long as these pews. It feels like sacred space because of the special moments when we have sat in here, and nothing can change that. We love its familiarity. We can picture our children and grandchildren having grown up in here. We can remember moments of Yom Kippur hunger, of reflection, of solace that we have experienced here. Can anything different possibly evoke those feelings for us? And the answer is yes. Together, we get to bring our lives, our soul-filled prayers, our open hearts into an updated sanctuary. It will take each of us time to build those new spiritual moments. I invite you into this vision for our sanctuary. And yes, we are mindful that at times we come into this sanctuary needing anonymity, needing privacy, needing space. There will be room in this sanctuary for that too. These pews have never been the end point. They are the starting point for the inspiration that we need as we go forth into the world to do good work and to meet our challenges. Let's use them to strengthen each other. These 20th century pews will move with us in our vision of a sanctuary with community at the center. Our pews hold such richness and history. Together, we will turn them just a bit so that we might truly face each other and our future. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Good Yontif. We are going to continue. In our prayer book, we are on page 83 as we turn into our vidui, our confessional prayers this evening.
Shana Tova,
Shana Tova.
on page 83. Hashamnu. When I was young and learned the alphabet, life was open to me. A was full of aspiration, B was for beauty, C was for confidence, and D was for dreams. And so on through the list, no fewer than 26. Opportunities, 26 possibilities. And yet, I fear that with the passage of time, I've squandered them, creating instead A is apathy, B is for brusqueness, and C is for coarseness. Help me to return to that innocence. Let the letters be letters once again, and let them rise in the heavens and form into the words that you know I wish to say.
So we turn to our Ashamnu on page 82. It is a tradition to take our seat, to take a fist, and to tap on our hearts for each of this litany of confessions that we make. We make these in the plural because we understand that on a night such as this, we are confessing for all of the household of Israel. And our tradition teaches that we're hitting ourselves not in a self-deprecating way. We're opening our hearts by tapping gently to open our hearts to understand where we need to repent.
Ashamnu,
Ashamanu,
Bagadnu,
Bagadnu,
Gazalnu,
Gazalnu,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Dibarnu Dofi,
Hevinu,
Hevinu,
Vehirshanu,
Vehirshanu,
Zadnu,
Zanu,
Hamasnu,
Hamasnu,
Tafalnu Sheker,
Tifanu Shaker,
Yatnu Ra,
Yahatsnura,
Kizavnu,
Kizavnu,
Latnu,
Latsnu,
Maradnu,
Maradnu,
Nihatnu,
Niatsnu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Avinu,
Avinu,
Pashanu,
Hashanu,
Sararnu,
Sararnu,
Kishinu Oref,
Ishinu Oref,
Rashanu,
Ashanu,
Shichatnu,
Shichatnu,
Tiavnu,
Tiavnu,
Tainu,
Tainu,
Titanu.
Titanu. Page 86, we turn to our Vidui Rabbah, our long confession. And have you join me in the English. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tzadon uvishgaga, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'dibur peh. The ways we have wronged you deliberately and by mistake, and harm we have caused in your world through the words of our mouths. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'amutz halev, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tipshut peh. The way we have wronged you by hardening our hearts, and harm we have caused in your world through careless speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chachash uv'chazav, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'rechilut. The ways we have wronged you through lies and deceit, and harm we have caused in your world through gossip and rumor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'flilut, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tzidzul horim umorim. The ways we have wronged you by judging others unfairly, and harm we have caused in your world through disrespect to parents and teachers. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'vidui peh, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'hona'at re'ah.
The ways we have wronged you through insincere apologies,
and harm we have caused in your world by mistreating a friend or neighbor. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'chozek yad, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'mas'ah uv'matan. The
ways we have wronged you through violence and abuse,
and harm we have caused in your world through dishonesty in business. Va'al kulam Eloha slichot, slach lanu, machal lanu, haper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'gilui uvasater, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'rikat ol. The ways we have wronged you openly and secretly, and harm we have caused in your world by losing self-control. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'gilui arviot, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'ma'achal uv'mishteh. The ways we have wronged you through sexual immorality, and harm we have caused in your world through consumption of food and drink. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'yitzer hara, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'neshech uv'marbit. The ways we have wronged you by giving in to our hostile impulses, and harm we have caused in your world through greed and exploitation. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'lazon, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'nitiyat garon. The ways we have wronged you through cynicism and scorn, and harm we have caused in your world through arrogant behavior. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'sinat chinam, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tum'at sfatayim. The ways we have wronged you by hating without cause, and harm that we have caused in your world through offensive speech. Al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'lashon hara, v'al chet shechatanu lefanecha b'tzarut ayin. The ways we have wronged you with a slanderous tongue, and harm we have caused in your world through a selfish or petty spirit. Va'al kulam Eloha slichot, slach lanu, machal lanu, kaper lanu. For all these failures of judgment and will, God of forgiveness, forgive us, pardon us, lead us to atonement. continue on page 93.
God, our Creator and Guide, let us speak now of the healing acts by which we bring you into the world, the acts of repair that make you a living presence in our lives. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha. For the act of healing we have done openly or anonymously, and for the act of repair we have done without personal gain. Al tikun shetikanu lefanecha. For the act of healing we have done by seeking forgiveness, and for the act of repair we have done by forgiving others. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha. For the act of healing we have done through righteous giving, and for the act of repair we have done by opening our hearts. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha. For the act of healing we have done by comforting the mourner and visiting the sick, and for the act of repair we have done by pursuing justice and human rights, fairness, and civility. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha. For the act of healing we have done by making peace between one person and another, and for the act of repair we have done by protecting nature and all its creatures. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha. For the act of healing we have done by teaching our children the ways of peace, and for the act of repair we have done by teaching our children the ways of Torah. Al hatikun shetikanu lefanecha. For the act of healing we have done by honoring elders and loving the stranger, and for the act of repair we have done in response to your commandment, choosing life and blessing. Al kulam. And all these things bring nearer the day when you shall be one and your name shall be one.
We continue on page 98 with Shema Kolenu.
Adonai Eloheinu turn to page 106 for our Kianu Amecha. No, yes. Kianu Amecha ve'ata Malkeinu anu vanecha ve'ata avinu anu nachalatecha ve'ata God Aleinu anu tzanecha ve'ata ro'enu anu karmecha ve'ata notrenu anu rayatecha ve'ata dodenu. As we're moving through these slichot prayers of forgiveness, we turn to page 109. When men were children, they thought of God as a father. When men were slaves, they thought of God as a master. When men were subjects, they thought of God as a king. But I am a woman, not a slave, not a subject, not a child who longs for God as a father or mother. I might imagine God as a teacher or friend, but those images like king and master, father or mother, are too small for me now. God is the force of motion and light in the universe. God is the strength of life on our planet. God is the power moving us to do good. God is the source of love springing up in us. God is far beyond what we men and women can comprehend. We turn to page 112 for our Avinu Malkeinu prayers, and we'll open the ark and invite you to rise as you're able to do so. Avinu Malkeinu, illumine for us the path of our life. Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the strength to take the road less traveled by? Will you join me in reading? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we come to know the purpose of our existence? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we learn not to live life in vain? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we get out of our indifference? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we distinguish between truth and falsehood? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we find the answers to our questions? Avinu Malkeinu, how shall we gird ourselves with strength and seek answers? Avinu Malkeinu, be gracious to us, answer us, empower us, give us courage, for the answers are both in you and with you. We turn to page 114. Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu.
Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice.
Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lifanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, Chamol Aleinu Va'al Ol Aleinu V'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and on our families. Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei Dever V'cherev V'ra'av Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, of violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, Kalei Kol Tsar Umastin Me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, Kadvenu B'Sefer Chaim Tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, Chadesh Aleinu Shana Tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, Malei Yadenu Mabirchotecha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our hands overflow with your blessings. Avinu Malkeinu, Harem Keren Mishichecha. Avinu Malkeinu, let our eyes behold the dawn of redemption. Avinu Malkeinu, Na'al Tashivenu Raikam Milfanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we pray, do not turn us away from you with nothing. Avinu Malkeinu, Kabel Barachamim Uvratzon et Tefilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, welcome our prayer with love, accept and embrace it. Avinu Malkeinu, Oseh Imanu L'ma'an Shemecha. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, Oseh L'ma'ancha im lo L'ma'anenenu. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake, if not for ours. Avinu Malkeinu, ein lanu melech ela ata. Avinu Malkeinu, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu, patach sha'arei shamayim utfilatenu. Avinu Malkeinu, let the gates of heaven be open to our prayer. Avinu Malkeinu, shema kolenu chus v'rachem aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, hear our voice, treat us with tender compassion. Avinu Malkeinu, chanenu v'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, osei imanu tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshi'enu. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Avinu Malkeinu, Shema Kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, Chatanu Lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu,
ask you to remain standing as we turn to our Aleinu prayer, concluding prayer on page 116.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגון עלינו ככל המונם. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוצר הארץ, ומושבי קרא בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגבהי מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אחד.
ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ.
I am delighted to invite Heidi Sohn, who is the Vice President of Communications on our Board of Directors, to come forward and share announcements for us on this Yontif evening. Hello, Heidi.
Lashana Tova, and welcome to 5783. Thank you to Rabbi Lisa for filling our hearts with your good words and all of the spiritualness that comes from being here in community. Thank you to our Baal Tekiah, Rabbi Seth Hochberg-Miller. And we would like to extend a special thank you to Robin Faigin, who assembled our talented choir. Quan Fen, as conductor, has our choir filling the sanctuary with beautiful music and song. I love these days. I'm dancing around the house, singing the songs and prayers that are in the melodies in my head. Being part of the choir takes a lot of dedication and hard work, and we are so fortunate to have these wonderful choir members complement our worship services during the high holidays. We are especially grateful for your commitment in this year of singing and rehearsing with masks and distancing. A special thank you to Miriam Arichea. This is Miriam's 11th year gracing our sanctuary with her beautiful piano music. We have much to be thankful for, and we are grateful to all of you. Keeping decorum and our safety is always priority at TBT, and we would like to acknowledge Jackie Hamer for organizing the Usher program. Thank you to the ushers and the security committee for helping out in our sanctuary, and to Ron Halpern for managing our security and coordinating the parking lot. These are big jobs that require a lot of coordination, and we all appreciate your service. This year, our High Holy Days Farm Food Drive, sponsored by the Social Action Committee, will benefit Mixtec farm workers and the Brotherhood Food Distribution. Please take a grocery bag home with you this evening and return it filled with non-perishable groceries and diapers. No clothing this year. Paper bags are in the lobby. Please, no glass containers, and for those who prefer to donate money, please give cash or a check made payable to Food Share Inc. Bring your donations to the pod located at the end of the temple parking lot. The food drive will continue until the day after Yom Kippur, October 6th. You will also find 2 petitions prepared by the Social Action Committee. One is legislation on climate change, streamlining federal aid to the communities which are vulnerable to extreme climate change. The second petition urges the Senate to pass the Women's Health Protection Act. Both petitions are sponsored by the Union of Reform Judaism. Please stop, read the petitions, and sign if you are inclined to do so. Yom Kippur services begin tomorrow morning, Wednesday, October 5th at 10 a.m. Please bring your silver Mishkan Hanefesh prayer book. If you would like to experience Yom Kippur in a significant way, visit the introspection room in the library, open all day on Yom Kippur. Come in, pick up materials, read the inspirations, and feel free to move about the temple campus. There are many sitting areas outside to engage in the sacred, private work of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur afternoon at 1:30, Speaker Luz Reyes-Martin from Planned Parenthood of the Central Coast will speak on the challenge to support women's reproductive choice and health care. 3 p.m. is the healing service outside. Lashana Tova, we wish everyone an easy fast and a very happy and healthy new year.
Thank you, Heidi. I do want to add that on that forum at 1:30, we will also be including Dr. Kelly Mizrahi, who remembers her when she was not a doctor. Who remembers when she was a bat mitzvah? Never mind. But she too will be joining us on this forum talking about women's reproductive health. She will be Zooming in with us from Salem, Massachusetts, where she is a practicing OBGYN. And also we will have, after our healing service at 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock tomorrow will be a family service here in the sanctuary. If you have children, come and bring them. And at 5 o'clock will be our Yizkor service, a creative Yizkor service, followed by Nila at 6 o'clock. So we're here all day tomorrow, folks, till 6:30. So come join us. Come be with us. Awesome experience to do so. We're going to continue on page. And by the way, hold on, those announcements were great. I know who wrote those announcements. I know that Sarah wrote those announcements before she left town. And I know that she specifically, knowing Cantor Robin, did not in any of her announcements focus on Cantor Robin. She said, thank you, Cantor Robin, for convening this beautiful choir because she knows Robin. So I'm just going to override those announcements and just say, Cantor Robin, holy cow. Oh, I shouldn't say cow. And it's like, we're fasting, right? Okay. Amazing to stand here. The work of being able to stand at the pulpit and sing and chant for us, extraordinary work. So it's fantastic that she works with the choir, Miriam Kwan Fen, but that's not all you're doing up here. So I just want to call out the extraordinary work of being able to be a chazan on Yontif and the holidays, and what you bring and what you give to us, and your voice is magnificent, and thank you for that. And you can tell Sarah that I added all of that, okay, when she gets back in town. Page 121.
I'll get you.
As we conclude this service this evening, we turn into Kaddish. This holy night concludes with memory, and our last thoughts always are of those that we have lost. We miss them especially tonight, yearning for their presence at our side. The service that we have shared once was theirs. They spoke and sang the ancient words. They prayed, repented, and yearned for better lives, as we have done. Flawed in their deeds, imperfect in their faith, they still drew strength from their tradition as we seek fortitude in ours. What was good and beautiful in their lives once gave us joy and now inspires us to reach higher. The knowledge that they loved us deeply brings comfort to our hearts. So we light candles of remembrance and gratitude, and we speak this timeless truth, Zichronam Livracha. Their memory is a blessing, now and forever. We pray that their goodness will live on in our lives, planting seeds of kindness and hope for generations to come. As we turn to Kaddish on page 122, I invite you to rise and hold within your own hearts those loved ones that you are missing and remembering as we step into this Yom Kippur of 5783. Holding them close in memory, we offer these words. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, ve'alma divra chirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon, v'v'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'agala u'v'zman kariv imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach, le'elam alamei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechmata da'amiran ba'alma v'maru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. O say shalom b'mramav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yishvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace on all who mourn, and may we be a comfort, a source of comfort to all who are bereaved. And will you join me in saying, Amen. I'll invite you to be seated or remain standing. Our closing song is Adon Alam. It is such a beautiful and traditional song, and it is words that were composed in the 11th century by the Spanish philosopher Samuel Ibn Gibberol. And these are the words that we end our service with in song tonight.
Page 126.
126.
Yantiv.